Okay, thank you everybody. Welcome to our lesson. This unit is unit 12, and this unit is quite a small unit, this one, so it's going to be quite a quick lesson. It's not a very long lesson this time. Thanks for letting me know that you can see my video. Thank you very much. It's partly a short lesson because this is a short unit and we've covered a lot of this before, so it should be fairly relevant for you, and also partly because I was really super poorly last week. I had COVID again and I was super poorly, so apologies. We're going to get going with our lesson on unit 12. This is lesson 16. Thank you very much if you've been with me for all 16. So unit 12, argumentative and discursive writing. In this lesson we are going to cover lesson 12.1, the key difference, and lesson 12.2, main characteristics of argumentative and discursive writing. So the key difference. Argumentative and discursive writing might on the surface seem very similar, and they are indeed similar and share a lot of the same qualities, but the goals of each differ, and it's important you understand the differences between the two when you're reading and writing them. The key difference between both types of response is their purpose. Argumentative writing argues that a particular point of view on the subject is the most valid, whereas discursive writing tends to provide a more balanced analysis of the subject, equally discussing both or all sides. As we've learned in the previous sections of the course, this slight difference in purpose will have an influence on the structure and language of these forms. For example, an argumentative essay will be forthright in its perspective on the subject, stating in the introduction which argument it supports. Although an argumentative essay should analyse both sides of an argument, the evidence in favour of the author's point of view should outweigh the counter-arguments in both quality and volume. Therefore, it will conclude favouring one side, obviously, over the other. On the other hand, a discursive essay should begin by taking a neutral stance on the outcome of the discussion, providing an equal analysis of both sides of an argument. After providing a balanced discussion of both sides, a discursive essay does not necessarily need to choose which argument is stronger. However, if one side clearly outweighs the other, then it is acceptable to state this. So the similarities between the two. The essay structure of both of them will be a similarity. They both look the same visually and take a similar format, containing an introduction, a main section, and a conclusion. The main body of an essay contains the evidence for the author's point of view, analysis of this evidence, and an evaluation of the analysis that is related back to the author's argument in relation to the overarching question. Each paragraph of the main body should begin with a topic sentence that clearly and concisely outlines what will be discussed in the rest of the paragraph. While they both have an essay structure, what differs from one to the other about the argumentative or discursive essays? Well, the introduction of an argumentative essay will clearly state the author's perspective on the question and explain how he or she will show why this perspective is stronger than any other. The introduction of a discursive essay, on the other hand, will highlight both sides of the argument and explain how these perspectives will be compared equally and impartially. The main body of each essay will be very different too. The main body of an argumentative essay will provide evidence that supports the author's argument, with analysis and evaluation of how this supports their point in relation to the question. It will also provide counter-arguments. However, the evidence in favour of the author's opinion should outweigh the arguments against in both quantity and quality. The author should also show why the counter-arguments fail to undermine his or her argument. The main body of a discursive essay, on the other hand, should equally compare both sides of the argument. The author should therefore objectively discuss both sides of the argument, providing similar accounts of evidence and analysis. Finally, the conclusions will look different too. The conclusion of an argumentative essay should state why the overarching argument the author has made is successful, and link the points that the author has made back to the broader issues raised in the question. The conclusion of a discursive essay, however, is structured on evidence that has been provided. If your evidence indicates that both sides of the argument are equally balanced, then you will conclude your essay by stating this and explaining why. Whereas if the evidence for one side is stronger than the other, you should state this and explain why. Both outcomes are possible. So this is layout 1. I'm going to read this one out for you. This is going to be either an argumentative or a discursive essay, and I'm going to ask you to work out which one you think it is. But layout A, point 1 for your argument with supporting evidence and analysis. Point 2 for your argument with supporting evidence and analysis. Point 3 for your argument with supporting evidence and analysis. And then point 4 against your argument with evidence and analysis and an explanation why this argument fails. So that's the main body of our first essay. Layout B, let's look at the second layout for this essay. This is the main body again. So there's a conclusion above it, an introduction above it and a conclusion below. But the main body goes, point 1 for an argument with supporting evidence and analysis. Point 2 against an argument with supporting evidence and analysis. Point 3 for an argument with supporting evidence and analysis. And then point 4 against an argument with supporting evidence and analysis. So I'm going to put a poll up now. We've got layout A and layout B. Which of those is argumentative? Which of those would be an argumentative essay? Which of these two layouts? Well done. All the votes in. We share the results with you very fast. Everybody voted then for the same one. Everybody voted layout A for argumentative. 100% yes, you are arguing a specific point. There are 3 points there arguing one specific point and then one against it, but then you go back on that and go, but that doesn't make sense because, or that actually doesn't work because, or that's not enough because. So yeah, you are absolutely hammering home in layout A, one specific point. Layout B, well done for spotting, is much more balanced. Here's a point for, here's a point against, and there is no clear overall winner either way, is there? Well done, that was brilliant. So, evidence. In both types of essay, various types of evidence can be given, discussed, and analysed. Some of these types of evidence might be expert opinion, facts, statistics, quotations, examples and case studies, or even personal experience. The evidence isn't merely given though, and whatever type of evidence is used, it must be analysed and discussed, then decided how it fits with the author's argument. For example, one piece of evidence might back up the author's point of view perfectly, but another piece of evidence might be argued with and disputed. As we've mentioned rhetorical devices in this course quite a lot, you should be familiar with these now. As a reminder, rhetorical devices are things like emotive language, antithesis, plural pronouns such as we, us, and them, possessive pronouns like you, and rhetorical questions. We focused on these particularly when we covered speeches and leaflets. I think back to speeches and leaflets, and that might give you some clue as to the next question I'm about to ask you. So rhetorical questions are a big no-no in one of these types of writing, but they're allowed and encouraged in another type of writing. So which is which? Let me share again the poll with you. So which of these types of writing, A, argumentative writing, or B, discursive writing, which of these types is rhetorical devices allowed and also recommended? Oh, it's split. I thought it would be. This is a very, very tricky one, isn't it? It is split. Oh, well done, everybody, for voting. Yes, that is split. Okay, the majority of you by a small amount have gone for A, argumentative writing. Yes, so rhetorical things like rhetorical questions, pronouns, you need to do this, we choose this. They are what we call persuasive writing, which is why we mentioned it in speeches and leaflets, because you want to bring someone around to your point of view. So yeah, absolutely, that would then be found in argumentative writing. Discursive writing, because you're balancing the two options, because you're not trying to persuade anyone, rhetoric devices have less of a function in that argument. So this can be a really good way of spotting which writing you're reading. Are there many rhetorical devices? If there are, it's probably argumentative writing. If you're asked to do some argumentative writing, again, it's important to remember Maybe I'll bring in some rhetorical devices and show the examiner that I know how to do persuasive writing. So bear those in mind. So your CloudPort information at this point has some really useful videos, which I urge you to watch. Sadly, I can't really include the videos here in this lesson. You'll find them really useful at this point. So please do take the time to go and watch those and make notes as you watch if you find notes are a helpful revision tool for you personally. There are also exercises at the end of this unit, as with all the units. But I do particularly urge you to check this unit out because the articles given in the exercises for you at the end, they're really good examples of argumentative and discursive writings, and it will help you understand both. Again, the way that we do our lessons doesn't really lend itself well to me reading out huge chunks of articles. So do take the time yourselves, please, to go and have a look at those, the ones that are given to you in the CloudPort examples, because they're brilliant examples. Feel free to do the exercise as well to write your own thoughts on it, but do go and have a look at those pieces of writing. Maybe see if you can go through and highlight the things that we've talked about today. See if you can spot which ones are argumentative, which ones are discursive. Read some articles. Now we've talked about the differences. See if you can spot the similarities between the two as well, and the differences between the two. But thank you very much. Thank you for joining me at our lesson. What have we learned? We have learned that argument and discursive essays are written in essay format, including an introduction, a main section and conclusion. That argumentative essays outline the author's stance on the subject from the beginning. That discursive essays take a more balanced approach. That both argumentative and discursive essays provide different types of evidence to support their points, and that the evidence in argumentative and discursive essays must be analysed and evaluated. Thank you very much for joining me again, everybody. I'm going to turn the video off now, but thank you very much for joining me.